Hey everybody, it's Eddie Joe on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good, what's good, what's good? So, a lot has happened today. I haven't even had a chance to get to the poll, which I'm working on right now, and it's going to be an incredibly easy one. Which stablecoin was briefly depegged today? Is it this one? Is it this one? That one? Or other? You know what to do. All right. That's going to be the question. Live chat. Okay, so which stablecoin briefly depegged today? DAI, RLUSD, PYUSD, or other? And if it's other, drop it in the comments. So, crazy day. Crazy day. What happened last week? Totally F-bombed this week. Or today. How do we get hit? Well, you know, the usual. The word tariff was used. And we all know what happens when the word tariff gets used. To the person that might be watching right now, who had that smart aleck comment to say on Instagram, glad I blocked you. We don't need you in this community. Here's where it comes from. I had said that whenever the tariff word gets used, market tanks. And this person came at me and said, tell me you suffer from TDS without telling me you suffer from TDS. And I'm not mad about what was stated. I'm mad that you're so ignorant. That's what I'm mad about. I told you that you should go look at the charts. Go look at the charts. I'm not preaching make-believe stuff. I'm telling you about what has happened. I'm telling you about what has happened. The market is down, has been down, was brought down. Hello, 8 Pause. Thank you for letting us know you invest in yourself today. So, calling me names, childish, and I can almost guarantee you would never say that to my face. Straight up. I can almost guarantee that. And because you're hiding behind some fictitious name or whatever. It's not a challenge. It's if you are going to go at somebody, come with facts. I don't mind debates. None of us in this community minds debates because iron sharpens iron. Unfortunately, I think you're just clay. I think you're unhardened clay. Because you didn't come with any facts. I came with facts. You called me a name because you didn't have any facts. Go look at every time the word tariff was used, market comes down. Right? 8 Pause, go in the corner. I'm trying to be serious and you're cracking me up. You take your little behind to the corner. Stay there. That was funny. That was good. I was an icicle. I was a popsicle for a minute. It was. When I say digging out, I mean digging out. But again, if you're going to come at somebody in this community, I don't care who it is, me, 8 Pause, anybody in this community, come with facts, please. Come ready to have a real conversation about the facts. None of us here are afraid of saying, oh, I was wrong. I am on camera. I am on camera and I've said that. I have no problem being wrong. I have no problem learning because that's what that means. But if all you can do is look at what you think is a political comment and not actually look at it based on its own substance, you can't hang with this crew. You cannot. Because it says that you're unwilling to learn. You're unwilling to listen. You're unwilling to spread your wings and actually grasp something that maybe you don't understand. And that is okay, because this is a safe space. But it only takes one time to call somebody a name and yeah, you got to go. Because we don't play that here. We do not play that here. So if you're a naysayer and you think I was saying something political, which I wasn't, I was saying something about the economy. And you can always tell people, tell when people don't really understand, because all they want to do is deflect. Don't deflect. Have the conversation. The market's been down since last April. Good news, today, yeah, you invested in what? In yourself, in dog poop and dirt? What'd you invest in? Say it. Don't make me send you to the corner. 8 Paws is already there, and I know she doesn't have pizza. Or beer. Or iced tea. So, yeah, I can believe that. This crew is hilarious. But good news is mortgage rates have hit a low we haven't seen since last March. That's actually good news, is it not? Right? But the market's tanked today. And the world is beginning not to flinch. The world is kind of saying, yeah, buddy, when this first happened, we were a little shooketh. But now, yeah, no, that little document we were supposed to sign, we were supposed to ratify, we're going to put that to the side for a little while. We're going to put that on ice until you figure it out. Doesn't that sound like your mom and dad? Like, you were being kind of bad at the table. We're going to take this ice cream and put it over here until you apologize. Doesn't that sound like that? Oh, it's definitely going to be an interesting week. I'm wondering when people are going to go to him, he's going to start receiving phone calls, be like, dude, get Grandpappy off the mic. Let's get him off the stage for a little while. Let's let him sit quietly, because you went on a rant and you had a tantrum, and now you want to raise everything to 15% in tariffs for everybody. Again, everybody. Wait a minute. You know what? I didn't do all my research. I did some, but I didn't do all my research because I didn't look up to see if he is levying tariffs again against the penguins. This is how asinine this is. The global economy is suffering and having a ridiculous amount of volatility because one man can't take the L. One man can't take the L. And then his lackeys are saying, well, we're going to keep collecting that money. We're going to keep collecting that money because, they didn't say we had to give it back real quick, except the DOJ is on record as saying, well, if the court decides against us, we'll run quick. The government will make it quick to repay that money. And now you're facing a ton of lawsuits. And now they're literally saying, we're going to drag this out. And what I say this morning, if you listen to this morning's show, what I said was, there are 2 ways you can go. 2. You're at the Supreme Court. There are no more appeals. That's it. You wanted it to go there. It went there. That's it. It's done. What you're saying is that they remanded everything else down to the lower courts and we'll figure it out there. Yeah, no. You're supposed to pay back the money that you stole. I mean, let's call it what it is. You did something that you did not have the legal right to do. You found out, or that was confirmed today. So if you do not give that money back, you're stealing. The United States government is stealing. And again, I say there were a lot of businesses that went out of business. There are a lot of businesses that are suffering right now. There are a lot of people that are out of work because the money that would have gone to their salaries, at least partially, went to the government. The amount of turmoil caused in this country, mind you, those are people directly, people and businesses directly. Indirectly, the rest of us had to pay inflated rates because they can't eat it all. For a period of time, they tried to get it on. They can't eat it all, so they had to eventually pass along those costs, those additional costs, those additional unnecessary and illegal costs, as we just found out, to their customers. So I think it's Pritzker. I think it's Governor Pritzker. I think that's his name. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Who said, we want you to give back the $1,000 something per person back to our citizens. Yeah. This is it. I wish it was funny, but it's not. It's not funny. Tariffs were raised without any thought, without any planning. And I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for, the rest of the government to say, hey, dude, you're wrong. This is not how it's supposed to work. Nobody likes these tariffs. They're not working in any way. Here's something that a lot of people have not said out loud. It's kind of bits and pieces here and there, and you can kind of put it all together, but I don't think anybody said it out loud. Economically, the current regime is an unmitigated disaster. From an economic perspective, I don't care about whatever else you agree with, don't, disagree with, all that other good stuff. Economically, he is a disaster. The United States is suffering. The world is suffering. Because how do you make moves with this level of uncertainty? The only thing that is certain is the uncertainty. How does that work out? How do we finally get there from here? That's a problem. That's a massive problem. It's a massive, massive problem. And before all you people that really love him and all that good stuff come at me, I'm going to tell you, like I said at the beginning of the show, come with facts. I don't mind having a debate. I don't even mind, admitting that I'm wrong. Ask Hutanik. I've been wrong tons of times. Ask Rick Ritchie. Ask 8 Paws. Ask any one of the big baggers. Ask any one of the regulars that participates here. I've been wrong tons of times. And I've admitted it on camera. You can see my face. You can go to growmybag.tv, join and rant, as long as it's respectfully, of course. But from an economic perspective, he's been reprehensible. Name one good thing that's actually come out of anything that he's done economically. That has a last, wait. He did do something that has a lasting effect. That was good. And that was give tax cuts to the wealthy and really big institutions and corporations. Which more and more people are sounding like me. More and more people are asking corporations this one big question. If you keep firing people, who's buying your products? How's that working out for you? If you keep firing people, who can afford your products and services? This isn't hard. This isn't difficult. But all these companies are running around AI, 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 AI. That's great. Or some other technology or whatever. Or they're just getting rid of people because they're shifting those jobs from here to offshore or to cheaper places, however you want to say it. It's awesome. Who here can afford your prices if they don't have a job? People that are rich, that whole like belt of rich people, because you have the wealthy up here, or I should say you have the wealthy up here, then you have the rich people, then you have the poor. The rich are either going to become wealthy because they got the nod, or they're going to be poor, period. Now, who can afford the Charles Schwabs of the world? Who can afford those kinds of companies? Got to have money for that, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah. But you don't have money if you've got to work 3 jobs just to afford a carton of eggs. Excuse me. Yeah, still fighting the cold. So, and the weather outside is frightful. So, I got a note. I got a letter in the mail, and it said New York State is looking to increase electricity rates by 23%. 23%. Huh? For what? And they had to get state approval. They had to get government approval for that. What is that money going for? Because at this point, I'm kind of like, maybe I should create a wind farm out back. Get the permits, run it, and then just be like, yeah, gotta do it. Gotta get off the grid. Because there's a point right now, excuse me, where you can't squeeze blood from a stone, and you're really going to allow a company to take the energy away? I mean, just think about this. Like, I don't think that the necessities of a society should be, managed by private companies. We've tried that, and it has not worked out. It has not. Not at all. Those electricity prices, ridiculous. They were already ridiculous, and now you're gonna raise electricity prices by 23%. And New York State's not the only state that's done that, or is doing that, or is about to do that. It's not the only state. Does energy really cost more, or is it that we're exporting more than we should, making it a hot commodity here while they still make their money over there? Maybe we should keep that energy here so we can keep our prices down so people can afford to eat. People can afford to pay their bills. We're not even talking about having people get ahead. 23%? Do you know how many budgets are going to be wrecked by then? Just saying. Just saying. I don't see how that's going to work out well. What other news do we have today? Tonight's question again. Excuse me. Which stablecoin was for a brief period of time depegged from the dollar? DAI, RLUSD, PYUSD, or other? And if it's other, drop it in the comments. I'm dying to know. Dying to know. Because it's funny to me. Bitcoin dropped, the markets dropped. Bitcoin, I think, is still under 65,000, and I'd be correct because it's at 63. It's at 63. Now there are reports out there that are saying that hey, it might bounce back up to 75. That'd be awesome. That'd be cute. That'd be mad cute. So you're gonna have to go look that up. I don't know that off the top of my head. You're gonna have to look that up. So I'm just kind of like, that's interesting. There's an economist that warned, Adam Posen warned, that inflation could actually surge this year and hit 4%. How does it work when you lower interest rates? You lower interest rates to make it easier for companies to borrow money so that they can create jobs, right? That's the normal equation. Is that correct? But prices keep going up. Inflation keeps going up. How do you manage both of those? Oh, and by the way, the market climate right now, it does not say to me that if you lower interest rates, those companies are going to hire. I mean, why would they hire if they've been on such a rampage firing people, handing out green slips, pink slips like it was candy? You get one and you get one and everybody gets one. Except it's not funny. It's talking about people's livelihoods. I know of a bank that fired somebody that is, by leaps and bounds, one of the best in what they do. Not just by my standards, but by their standards. He was fired anyway. And then when you turn around and look and you have your exit interview and all that other good stuff, they're like, oh, well, we have jobs open that you might be good for. You should look them up and, tell us which ones, you want to go for. What? That's kind of like a lie. The jobs might be open, but if you were going to keep this person, why didn't you match them to the job to begin with and say, here's your person? Why didn't you start that internal process from the beginning instead of firing them and then telling them applied like you're just somebody from off the street? You invested in what, Rick Ritchie? No, I want the whole thing. I have invested in myself. Invested just means, okay, you invested. Just like I asked Hutanic earlier, in poop? He said, yes, he invested in poop. I'm going to hold him to that. He invested in poop. And thank you for your response for the tonight's poll question. But all jokes aside, I mean, how does that math? How does that math when we keep firing people? I know somebody that has, I want to say, 20 years experience in the banking industry. Hands-on technologist, not an IT guy, a hands-on technologist. One of the best in the business. He's been out of work for a year. For a year. And I know banks have been, hiring left and right. So I'm just wondering, how does that work out? If we keep firing people from these businesses, who's left to afford anything in this country? If I keep raising energy rates 23%, that's I'll be okay, but I know a lot of people that won't be. 23%. I know a lot of people that won't be. That's going to break budgets. That's literally going to break budgets. So you've got car insurance, health insurance, energy prices, all going up at the same time. On top of all these jobs being lost. We created 181,000 jobs last year. 181,000 jobs last year. And in January, somebody wants me to believe that we created 130,000 jobs. Yeah, I won't be believing that. I will absolutely not be believing that. And then we have all these people talking about how, the billionaires are going to leave certain parts of the country and go to other parts of the country. They don't share their money anyway. I want you to think about this. The billionaires in New York are not stopping by my favorite bodega. That's not happening. They're not rolling up in their Lamborghini, walking in the door and be like, yo, dog, let me have that bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, no ketchup on a roll with my Bustelo coffee, light and sweet. I like my medium. Not so sweet. Where are you? We're so concerned with the part of the K economy that's pointing up, when we should be wondering how many people are pointing down and why and how can we fix it? Because it's the greater amount of people that are moving in the wrong direction. I hear everybody talking about a K economy, but I don't hear anybody trying to fix it. Just wondering. Let's see what kind of comments we got. Okay, got that. That's valid, Rick Ritchie. That one's valid. This economy is heading into a stagflation. Nobody can buy anything. Nobody can sell anything. You answered other. Got it. Max Salas, have you invested in yourself today? Not going to engage you unless you answer that question. How's that panning out for people? There's been a lot of deflection. And thank you, Max. And I'm wondering, to your point, Max, how the turmoil in Mexico is going to affect the global economy. And some people are sitting there going, how? Most of those things are happening in Mexico's third largest economy or economic area. That's one. Tequila is going to get hurt. Avocado price is going to go up. Whatever we get from Mexico, those prices are going to go up because everything's at a grinding halt right now. And then we're still in talks with Iran. We're still blowing up boats in the Caribbean. We still have not actually brought peace to Russia. And I'm having a hard time because the topics that I'm talking about right now directly involve people's lives, not just the economy, but people's lives. And not just here. When I say we're causing economic turmoil, we are absolutely causing economic turmoil. But when you can have countries and geographic regions like the European Union say, we're not going to sign these things until you figure it out. We're not going to ratify the so-called deals that we agree to until you figure it out. Because everything that you put on this little paper has been blown away by your little circus trick. How can we depend on you? Oh, and let's not forget the threats as well. Let's not forget the threats to the rest of the world. That if they think that they can do this and blah, 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 and bloody, bloody, blah, just The beginning of this year sucks. A lot of them billionaires are about to share the wealth. So I guess it's Hutanic, Rick Ritchie, and 8 Paws leading the crew in the corner. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, the price of your avocados. You're someplace warm. Freaking grow your own. What the heck? But yeah, we're looking at something right now where it's not just avocados. It's not just, tequila. The tequila's been watered down for years anyway. So, only very few tequila manufacturers actually ship pure tequila. But we won't go there. That's, but I want you to think about all of the manufactured goods that flow through Mexico. And some people probably don't understand this, but there's the normal set of goods that flow through Mexico. They're from Mexico, boom, car parts, things like that. Then you have facilities like Lululemon has warehouses in Mexico, so they can receive the goods first in Mexico and then truck them in to the United States, because that's right. That's how you can get around the tariffs. So how many companies is that going to affect? We haven't hit that leg yet, but that's coming. That is coming. Wow. Wow. Now, some people can say, well, we had nothing to do with that except we supplied the intelligence, but that's fine. But it wasn't something that we created. That's Mexico's problem. Cool, not a problem. However, all the companies that are bringing goods in from Mexico, it has come to a dead stop. We actually have people in Mexico that are stranded there. I have a friend who lives on the beach in Mexico, and her and her husband are probably in trouble. They're gonna have to hunker down. And they can't just drive back because they've blocked off roads, they've burned cars. Yeah. That's a massive problem. Perfect timing if you think about it. Perfect timing. So we're in a time right now where we have so many negatives. Remember what I told you? We've got to keep the list of risks so we can understand, well, if this happens, then what? Something happening to a drug cartel in Mexico is always a risk. It's been a risk for a long time. Okay? Risks from Cuba, Venezuela, those are things that wasn't even thinking about. Ukraine, Russia, that's no longer a risk. That's an event, and it hasn't gone away yet. And I don't know that if that ends, that anything is going to change as quickly as it would have had it ended years ago. That's right. I said years, plural. So we still have a list of risks, and some of them are no longer risks, right? Like health insurance is no longer a risk. It's a thing. Car insurance is no longer a risk. It's a thing. Homeowners insurance is not a risk. It's a thing. All of insurance is a thing now. It's no longer a risk. Energy prices were always going to be a risk. They were always going to be a thing. It was a guarantee, is a guarantee. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Well, for New York, we just found out when. So that's a problem. No longer a risk, it's a realized risk. And the issues stemming from those risks are more than a one-to-one. Yeah. So leaving the house to go someplace, everything is going up in price. Oil went up dramatically. So since 2024, all the way through now, oil is going up, and you can track it with the conversations that we've been having on and off with Iran. Wow. So there's a lot of news. Like, I haven't seen anything much that's been good. Just saying. Just saying. They're talking about even how Home Depot stock could plunge. People are even iffy about Nvidia. I think Nvidia will be okay. I just don't think they're going to have spectacular numbers. You have Sam Altman out here. What is on this guy's mind? He basically said that, the human existence is a waste. Go look it up. If you don't believe me, go look it up. He's said it not so many words. And I'm just kind of like, wow. And everybody's putting their faith in this guy. And then you have the guy from Anthropic talking about how China companies are stealing their data or stealing their logic or whatever. And I'm like, aren't these the same companies that you guys were talking about are nowhere near what you can do? And haven't they been doing it just as long, if not longer? The same game? You just sold it better. And China works differently. So, I don't know. Don't they not have the same technological assets that you do? And they stole stuff. I don't think it's that they stole stuff. I think you hired a lot of Chinese people. They didn't like it here and they went back home. You can look that up too. Yeah. We need to stop being so arrogant and thinking we're the only country that has good ideas. We need to stop being so arrogant and thinking that no other country can do what we do. Look at Israel. Israel's got a lot of smart people. Russia's got a lot of smart people. Germany's got a lot of smart people. There's a lot of smart people everywhere. There's a company, there's a startup, Furiosa. They make chips. And from what the studies say, independently verified, is that their chips, in some cases, blow away NVIDIA's chips. And they're expected to go into mass production this year. Furiosa, Furiosa. South Korean company. Wow. I think at some point we've got to wake up and we've got to say a lot of these companies are not doing what they originally set out to do. NVIDIA was a graphics company. They were involved in helping people make gaming machines. And then AI popped out and they figured out, holy moly, you can do a lot more with our cards over in AI. So we're going to leave that space and we're going to come over here. And then Micron decided to do the same thing with the chip making business. There are only 3 companies that make RAM. Company Hynix, there's something Hynix, and then Samsung. So Micron, this company, blah, 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 Hynix, and then Samsung. And Micron just said, we're done. We're going to go over here, make more money. And some people will say, well, isn't it the same? Isn't it different memory? No, it's made on the same wafers and almost identical. They just make a switch on, boom. They make the memory anyway. But there's a limited supply of wafers, you see. So, yeah, there's that too. And Hutanik, please go in the corner, be quiet. NVIDIA's, all jokes, I'm just joking. NVIDIA has been sucking at creating drivers for a long time. Long time. I don't care what freaking platform you're on. For a long time, they've just sucked. They're notorious for it. They're out here making cards, but you're not really supporting the bulk of them. And some of your cards literally melt on regular use. Not even overclocking. On regular use, they melt. Wow. Just saying. So yeah, when I sit back and I look at all this stuff, I kind of go, there are a lot of things that we need to do math on, that we need to figure out and try to put, what are the chances of this happening? What are the chances of that happening? And if that happens, what are going to be the ramifications? What are going to be the issues we're going to have to deal with? Right now, I'm finding it hard to get around the price of energy, including gas, electricity, going up substantially. I can't get around food prices still being high. I can't get around energy prices soaring. And then somebody's going to talk about how, well, the government's now going to try to make these companies pay for their own electricity and, pay for the upgrades and blah, 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 blah. I've yet to see it. I've heard a lot of talk. I've heard a lot of yippity yappity. I haven't seen anything happen. That should have happened to begin with. But it didn't. And I don't think we have to ask the reason why it didn't. Massive problem. Massive, massive problem. But I have a funny feeling that tonight's poll question is going to be a nice little conversation. We only had 5 votes. Wow. Only 5 people were bold enough to actually answer that question. Come on, people. Come on. You're making me sad. Which stablecoin was briefly depegged today? DAI. Now 6 people. Wow. Thank you. Should I wait a couple of minutes and maybe a few more people will get on there? I like when it's above 10. So let's give it a couple of minutes and so we can get above this 6 and hopefully 4 more of you will actually, as soon as we hit 10 or 11, I'll get on that. Ace Hardware just spent a ton of money building a huge new store in town. This is not a rich town. Is there a Home Depot? Like, are there other things in the area? Because maybe Ace Hardware just wants to, I don't know. Is it close to other towns? Maybe they're hoping to draw people in from other towns. I mean, because that's the way it is in New York, right? You live in one town, but you don't have everything in that town. So you go to other towns and go hit those stores and you go back home. Because it's all, as long as it's within 20 minutes in this area, as long as it's within 20 minutes, it's good to go. Lots of them go over or below. Are we talking 80? Go look it up. Stop asking questions that you can go look up, bro. I'm not answering those questions. Go look it up. Go look. Being lazy. Something else happened. I dropped it as breaking news today. PayPal has, I guess, unwanted suitors. Well, not unwanted, but unsolicited suitors that are saying, hey, we'd like to take over parts of your business. You're trying to hope. It's 6, sir. It's 6. Smart ass. And so the stock jumped 9% for PayPal because they have suitors that are saying, hey, we'd like to buy parts of your business. Not necessarily buy them outright, but we'd like to buy parts of your business. Imagine if PayPal was to get bought out and what would get bought out. PayPal is basically a bank. And they're, basically making money because of their stablecoin. Yeah. You make money off the fees for every transaction. So they're making money. Is it bazillions? No. But are they making money? Yeah. For not much work, they're making money. Imagine if PayPal got bought by a financial institution that wanted their stablecoin. If you wanted to buy PayPal stablecoin, you'd probably have to buy PayPal, I would think. I would think you would have to buy PayPal. But imagine if somebody did that. That would put any bank in the mix real fast. Real fast. Or is it they want to buy their instant payments networks? They don't just own Venmo. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, Venmo is owned by PayPal. I know because I was there. So yeah, amazing, right? Amazing. PayPal actually owns or had bought, I think 8, last count was 8 different instant payment apps. Venmo was one of them. And I was part of the team that was actually merging into a data lake all of the data and, formatting all the data, all that good stuff, normalizing all that data to go into a single data lake, including PayPal's own data, matching fields, all that stuff. Yep. It's a lot of fun. The closest store is 30 miles. Dang. Why would you do? Have you looked at the city plans? And maybe it's also going to be is it good for shipping? Is it a good shipping location? I don't know. Maybe they're expecting something to happen. Did they find land out there that's got, minerals or ore or something like that? I don't know. Yes, and they have global reach too. That's right. One of the companies they bought is actually Canadian based. So they do have a legit international foothold outside of just PayPal. Just saying. So buying PayPal, whatever parts you're interested in, could be very interesting. And that's why it went up. I think a deal is going to wind up happening. And the reason why I think it's going to wind up happening is because they're already talking to financial advisors to figure it out. So I don't think it'll be long before we find out who is making the unsolicited advances, because I don't think it's just one. Wow, that would be huge. So we seem to be stuck on 6 votes, so we're going to end it right there. Which stablecoin was briefly depegged today? DAI, RLUSD, PYUSD, or other? It was other. It was my favorite one. USD won, to be exact. And they're claiming that it was a coordinated attack. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because if there's one thing hackers want you to know, is that they did something. I don't think it was a coordinated attack. Which also makes me feel like I'm right. I'm never going to touch that. Ever going to touch that. Yeah, PayPal has nothing to do with Paxos. So when I look at that stablecoin, and I look at that company, it's still 30 miles. 30 miles is 30 miles. I don't care what you're saying. That's a minimum of 30 minutes away if you're traveling 60. Right? If you're traveling 60, that's a half hour away. Yeah, no. Me driving a half hour away, oh man, that's like a day trip. For like regular stuff, if I have to drive a half hour away, that's a problem. If I'm driving a half hour away, it's because I feel like driving, and I love to drive, but I feel like driving. So instead of going to, let's say, a Home Depot near me, I'm going to a Home Depot not near me. Instead of going to the Lowe's near me, I'm going to the Lowe's not near me because I felt like driving. But on the regular, yeah, nah. Nah, you're going to go 30 miles that way. You're going to go 30 miles that way. Now, what you could say is that from the center of town, I'm 30 miles away, but they've got people that live closer that might be, I don't know, might make it 20 minutes. And that would put you within my 20-minute radius. And maybe that's what they're going for. Get this town and the people living on the outskirts of other towns. Maybe. I can't believe that they didn't do the research on what the possible market cap would be over there, or the market demographic or whatever. That'd be impossible. Wow. That's cray cray. That's cray cray still. So yeah, PayPal. Interesting, no? That would be very interesting. And I wonder what specific part of the business that they're looking at. That I am curious about. Very curious about. Because that would be almost ridiculously interesting to me. Right? Because from what I understand, they don't want all of PayPal. They want specific pieces of PayPal. And PayPal has not been doing all that well. So that bump of 9% was significant. So if they're not interested in buying the whole thing, would they have to sweeten the pot, take the whole thing, and then jettison off what they don't want, like sell it separately or something like that, or get somebody else to come in on the deal? That would be interesting to me. Why are we talking about See, Hutanik, this is why I put you in the corner, man. Your logic. Your logic is really effing with me tonight. Yeah, why are we talking? Yeah. But seriously, though, I don't think even any of his friends were prepared for this to happen. I mean, his people over at Cantor Fitzgerald placed a bet. What they do, which is what Hutanek was alluding to. This knucklehead's son, Lutnick, his son who runs Cantor, went to the companies that were owed or that had to pay the tariffs and offered them something like 20 cents on the dollar or something like that. Wow. And now, because I mean, I want you to think about this. They were desperate for the money and they undercut them for the rights to the repayment because they were betting that the Supreme Court was gonna kick that out. Brilliant move on their side, kind of shisty when you think about how they did those people wrong. We're talking like max 20-30% on the dollar, 20-30 cents on the dollar that they bought those credits or whatever it is you want to call them, so that if it comes back that the government's going to pay them back. Imagine how much money they're going to make by shanking all of those people all those companies that had to pay those tariffs. So some of those companies obviously are not going to get that money back. They may all be sitting there going, well, we made a deal with the devil and the devil won. We needed the money. We did have to. We had no way to end, so we had to do. That's the same feeling that those soybean farmers feel. Well, we were told that China's going to buy some and they didn't. And, we're farmers, so we got to plant. How's that working out for us? Yeah. Brilliant, right? Brilliant moves. We're not really firing on all pistons. And Hutanek, what do you mean? That's a straight up political statement, so you better explain yourself. And A+, absolutely. No rich people. Trader, have you invested in yourself today? I don't like leaving you guys on a down note, but I mean, like, there's nothing good that's going on in the country right now. I can't point to something that's like great news for the general public. There's been decent news for certain companies. Jane Street bought, more strategy stock. That's nice. But on a grand scheme of things, I'm not seeing anything that's really big and really good for us. On February 23rd, the stablecoin USD1 issued by World Liberty Financial briefly deviated from its dollar peg, dropping to 0.98 cents. Yeah, that's a DPEG. 98.02 cents. 98.02 cents, sorry. USDT on Binance before recovering within 30 minutes. You depegged for 30 minutes. The question is, are they actually going to come out and say what happened? How'd you depeg? Are you algorithmic? Oh, okay. Just wondering. Asking for a friend. Maybe we get better news tomorrow. Maybe some greater minds prevail, but this is going to be a tough week. Welcome to Monday. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about this community. It's the only one that actually gives a damn about your self-investment. Because what are we supposed to do? Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and and absolutely invest deliberately. And your first investment is yourself. It's a big deal. To make you can you're killing me, trader. You can still watch them on you can't snatch a live, like have it someplace else right now, but you can still listen to it as a podcast. You can still catch it as a rerun. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. Me and my team will work for that every day. Everybody have a good one. See you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. for the daily. Have a good one. Bye-bye.